Hello, everybody. This is Paul Tinkle, and welcome into 30 Minutes. My guest today is the Athletics Director and Vice Chancellor of the University of Tennessee at Martin, Kurt McGuffin. And we've been friends for a long time. I've got a chance to know him and his family, and I can say and speak to his character that it is very high, and he cares very much about the student athletes on the campus of the University of Tennessee at Martin. And Kurt, just a little history. You came here how many years ago now? It seems like it's 7, 8 now.
I am starting my 8th year. I came here in June of 2017.
And why did you want to come to Martin, Tennessee, other than the fact it's probably the best campus in America?
Well, that's true, Paul, but I think it was I was at a Division II school up in St. Joseph, Missouri, and the idea of getting back to Division I. And I had 3 kids. One was 8th grade at the time, 6th grade, and 2nd grade. And both my wife and I are from smaller communities in Kansas, and it was just the appeal of raising our kids up in a smaller community with a Division I atmosphere. And then Dr. Carver and Charlie Deal. Charlie Deal was the head of the search committee. Just sold me on it, and I just liked their energy. It's been a great experience so far.
You know, being a part of this campus here at the university, you raise your family at this campus. And I'm going back to Dr. Charles Smith. His son, of course, graduated here from the university and doing very well, I might make mention. But it seems as though chancellors and also athletics directors have a very vested in the community, particularly because of the schools.
I think that's what's special about it. I think when you move to Martin, and if you have kids, you're kind of ingrained immediately, whether they're in middle school, high school, or elementary school, just because of the atmosphere, whether they play sports or don't. It really made it pretty special to move our family in here. And now, I've been here 7 years. I've got now 2 of my sons, 21 and 18, are junior and freshman in college at UT Martin. I think, if you would have asked me 8 years ago, my kids would have gone to UT Martin, I might have said, I don't know. But they enjoy it. It's just that family atmosphere, and it was a great transition from the high school to get to UT Martin.
Was it hard becoming a part of Martin for you?
I think bringing a family in, it's easier. Sometimes when we bring coaches or administrators that don't have a family or aren't married, I think Martin's a little more difficult for them just because it's such a family-oriented, smaller community. And I think we've had some difficulty with some of those people that are, don't have that family to get them involved as quickly. But definitely when we hire people that have families, you just get in quicker. You get ingrained in the schools, and because we are one. I mean, UT Martin is the Division I school in Northwest Tennessee, but the same people that go to the Westview or Union City or other games come to UT Martin games, and it's definitely a family type atmosphere.
You have the luxury of picking and choosing where you wanted to live, where you wanted to go to church, where you wanted to expand your horizons. Because you got the full picture, and then after you put down those roots, so to speak, then you have become a part of Martin and Weakley County and West Tennessee.
Yeah, I think, sometimes some people get paranoid that you bring somebody in that hasn't maybe grown up here or in this area, and they think, well, you're going to leave pretty quick. And I've shown that I'm not interested in leaving. I've had opportunities, and even this week some search firm says, are you interested in this job? I said no. I've got a daughter that's a freshman in high school and 2 kids at UT Martin. I mean, there's not just a safe, affordable place to live than I've worked at 5 other institutions and lived in 5 different communities, had 6 houses, and this one is by far the most affordable, safe community feeling that we've probably lived in.
What is the director of athletics charged with doing?
I think every place is a little different, but definitely the budget and fundraising is always probably the priority. I mean, you care about your student athletes and the welfare, and you try to provide them as much as you can, whether it's how they travel, how they get fed, what they wear, how they represent the school, what facilities they work out in. But definitely the bottom line is, do we have enough money to allow those things to happen? Do we We raise most of our salaries. The university, we get grant and aid and some money from the university and some student fees from the university, which are paramount. But the other probably 40% of our budget, we are doing it externally, and paying for salaries and operating budgets.
Let me do this by the numbers, and I'm not putting you on the hot seat on this because sometimes it's hard to remember. But how many people do you have under your tutelage?
We've got about 85 full and part-time employees, and then we've got 480, and if you add some student assistants and graduate assistants, we're about 510 student athletes or students involved. So probably about 600, close to 600 is probably our total athletic department.
And in all of that, you have people below you, if you will, assisting you.
Assisting us in different areas. I mean, you obviously got your coaches, but then in my administrative staff, you've got, Danelle Fabianich, who is our business and administration person. You've got Ashley Bynum, who's compliance and academics. You've got a development position that's open right now, and hopefully have that hired within the next couple of weeks. You've got academic advisors. You've got Laura McDonald, in marketing and promotions. You've got our sports information guys that are probably the best I've been around, and Ryan Rickman and Alex Bogus and others. So it takes a lot to get these programs going and to do everything that we try to do. But it's a special group that works really hard.
Football has the most number of athletes. What's the least number of athletes?
Our rifle team is at 8 or 9. Golf's usually around 10, 11. Those are two of our smaller sports, and then you go from there. You've got even our newest program, stunt and cheer. They've brought in 28 stunt student athletes, which is a new emerging sport. And then you keep going up with softball, volleyball, equestrian, and with bigger numbers.
You had to eliminate some sports. What were they?
We've just eliminated tennis since I've been here, but we added beach volleyball back. We took a year off my first year here. We didn't have a facility for that, and we added stunt. But tennis was the only one we eliminated, and there was it was a budget decision. And it's hard to do those things where I've just been adding sports. At Missouri Western, I added 6, and here we've added 2, but we did have to eliminate tennis. And most of that grant and aid from tennis went back to our other women's sports because we weren't fully funded in certain sports as far as women's basketball, soccer, volleyball.
I've got to try to get this to a easy understand financial report, let's just say. So who brings the revenue in? Football and basketball?
Well, I mean, it's a total effort. They probably don't make revenue if you put everything up to like salaries and operating budgets. I wouldn't say that, not like Knoxville, that football is bringing in the charge. It's a combination of a lot of things. It's NCAA funds, which could be smaller next year because of the NCAA settlements as far as name, image, likeness. It's concessions, season tickets, corporate sponsorships. It's ESPN Plus. We have a conference arrangement with the Ohio Valley Conference to provide our games on ESPN Plus that we get some revenue back. It's fundraising, externally fundraising with Skyhawk Club and other things. So it's a combination that builds up. We've got about a $14.5 million budget, which we raise about 6.5 of that in order to sustain where we are.
If you've just joined us, Kurt McGuffin is our guest today. He's the Director of Athletics at the University of Tennessee at Martin, Vice Chancellor for Chancellor Freeman. What is your shining star right now for the first 7 years? What are you most happy about or most confident or maybe best feeling that you've had? Now, that's awful broad, so you get to pick.
Well, obviously, when you look at it, I'm going to throw it back on our coaches and student athletes. I think we could talk about some facility projects, but really it's about when we went through some of the conference realignment and we thought maybe the Ohio Valley Conference, maybe not where we are, sticking to the Ohio Valley Conference, sticking with some of our partners in like Southeast Missouri State and Eastern Illinois and Tennessee Tech and Tennessee State, and sticking with them saying, let's keep going, let's keep making this conference a piece. And since that change, probably having 7 different sports in the last 3 years win Ohio Valley Conference championships. Football 3 times here in a row, beach volleyball 3 times, soccer won it, women's basketball, men's basketball, golf, probably leaving somebody out there, but, having all of those different sports where we've won more conference championships. Our student athletes have performed at a higher level than maybe any time in our history. To have that many different sports win Ohio Valley Conference championships is pretty special, and seeing them get conference championship rings and having a graduation success rate close to 90 and GPA of 500 student athletes above a 3.2 for the 12 consecutive semesters, those are pretty special, and you can always give it credit to our coaches and our student athletes and our admin staff to make that happen.
You have some long-range projects that you are thinking about or planning about. What are they? Is it to remodel the Tom and I'll go into all of this, but the Elam Center, is there some things that need to be done there?
Yeah, facility projects are something that we constantly need and need to improve. We have some really good facilities, but you're always looking ahead. I think probably the things that are currently going on is we've done a lot for baseball. You know, when I first got here, I thought I evaluated some of our sports. I didn't think baseball was maybe funded the way it should be. We had one assistant coach. We had a budget of maybe $50,000, and they had to raise another $150 just to function. So we've really helped baseball. And this last year, adding a new hitting facility for them. If you went down to the baseball field in the last week, the field is getting torn up, the wall's getting torn down. So we've put about $3 million into baseball in the last 18 months. So I think that's one that's currently going on. The men's basketball locker room, we did the women's basketball locker room about 4 years ago. The men's basketball locker room is currently going on and should be ready by October 1st, October 15th, in order for them to move in before the season starts. We have some other, the football. Football has a current project that will be started here in the next month, and that the football weight room is in the bottom of the Student Life Center where there used to be a swimming pool. Maybe if you remember, Paul, you might have swam in that pool way back in the day, but that's where our weight room is. We're basically going to take the weight room and move it up top to the old gym that's above them and give them more space. Weights are an important part of what football does. So those are the current projects going on. The future projects, I think the most important thing for athletics right now is renovating the pool area. I know there's some controversy. Why'd you close the pool? I hope to have a pool at some point in Martin that public can use, but the pool area was just costing the university money, and it wasn't an athletic. I didn't control the pool area, but now we do have oversight of the Elam Center. So the pool area renovation and turning it into an indoor turf space would be important to the school, our athletic department, and then obviously if you have kids in travel sports, having the ability to raise some revenue with our facilities, bringing in travel soccer teams and athletics puts on those tournaments during the weekends in the winter, and using those facilities to produce revenue is our main focus.
Let me just give you a chance here to respond to what may be one of the worst things that could ever happen. You got a ball game going on. It doesn't make any difference what it is, football or basketball. You're in charge of safety, you and Director Michael O'Neill, and you have to decide what are you going to do in this basketball game where you're hearing that there's a tornado in Hickman headed this way, let's say.
Yeah, I think those are, I walk into every facility and I start looking for emergency plans on what we would do if lightning or if tornadoes or anything worse than that could happen. And Michael does a great job. Our campus security does a wonderful job in helping us plan that. Charlie Jarr is kind of the safety guy now, who was the police officer for the campus for many years. And we have good plans in place to keep our participants safe, as well as the people in attendance. And you know, you do worry about that as the AD. You don't want anything catastrophic to happen. You know, we've taken some safeguards in the stadium this year, but we probably need to ramp that up as far as clear bag policy in football and basketball and most of our facilities. We're probably at a point in the future, you know, I noticed even Southeast Missouri State going over to that football game where there was metal detectors. You walk through metal detectors, and I hate to say that, but we're probably at a point in our sporting events that we're probably going to have to look at to getting a grant to provide those type of services to keep everybody safe.
Well, that goes back into the job that you have to have, and you have, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think you've got other eyes beside yours that are looking to make sure the safety of any event, whether it's baseball or volleyball, badminton, whatever it happens to be, but you have to have those people with plans, particularly in this day. And I'm a little bit concerned about how many people are in a room, and one of them decided that they didn't like being in the room anymore.
Yeah, I think you kind of have that paranoia that you're looking around and say, okay, if something happened, how do I get everybody out, or how do we do it? So, we definitely talk about that all the time, and it's you hate to say it, but you have to plan for it.
You've just mentioned a moment ago about plastic bags, and we'll jump into this here, but there are some changes that have been made and will continue to be probably what we're doing now, and that is paperless tickets. And now it's all on your phone or whatever it is, your computer. So why did you decide to jump into this?
Yeah, I think you're probably like me and like many others that I used to collect all my stubs that I ever went to a sporting event, or collect all my credentials that, going to a Super Bowl or a Final Four. I collected those forever. And now we're going paperless. It's more of a audit thing, to keep us where it's less cash availability at the stadium, tracking the cash. So we went to the point of sale for concessions, which has really helped us speed up lines, keep control over inventory, sell and how many Kit Kats we're going to sell on a certain game, and know that we've sold many and not that something got stolen or we didn't charge the right amount. But tickets, definitely you've got some people that still like the paper tickets, but we really needed to go to an online situation to speed up our process and really to audit what we've sold and keep track of at a better rate.
So today, tell me what I have to do if I wanted to see a football game this weekend here at Homecoming, and I don't have a ticket yet, but I'm going to be I'm one of those people that comes in late, and here I am. What do I need to do?
Yeah, obviously Homecoming is one of our biggest games, and probably the biggest game of the year. If weather holds out, it's definitely our biggest game. My suggestion would be to go online and buy it before you got to the stadium. But if you didn't have a chance to do that, when you get to the stadium, we definitely have ticket sellers there to whether you're going to buy a chair back or just a general admission ticket.
You got to have something in your hand. You have to have a phone to do that, or
that's ideal, because we do have the barcode or the QR code that you can scan out front and do it on your own, and then just get it scanned as you walk in. Or you can go up to the person and they can assist you as long as you have your credit card. But more than likely, you're going to give your credit card, they're going to assign your seat and email it to you to get into the game.
That sounds like you got to be tech savvy to be able to go to a ball game. You mentioned a moment ago, and I want to ask you this question because Westview High School and UT Martin have the same football field. Do you see that the high school will be having, if you have those metal detectors, that the high school would have to go through them as well?
I think that's something, the service that as athletics and UT Martin, we would probably provide and require, that if we had those metal detectors. I think the good thing about our stadium, it could slow up some entry. The people that get there 2 minutes before the game and expect to park out front and walk right in. But we only have really the one gate for tickets. We've not opened up the visitor side yet. There could be sometimes if our attendance gets really good, we might consider opening up the other side. But I think it's probably a necessity in the near future. We're going to have to look at that. And yes, I mean, Westview's crowds, as you know, Dresden, and they bring in good crowds too because of their success lately. And I think we're going to have to provide that for that type of game as well.
Well, let me move forward. Speaking of homecoming coming up this weekend, tell me what homecoming means to the athletics director.
Well, it's just a time to really show off. Some people, that's the only game they come to a year. They live, beyond. We're getting to every game, but it's just to show off the university. Our alumni association, Jackie Johnson, John Abel, Student Affairs. It's a lot of work for them, and to
how so? What kind of work?
Well, it's every night. You've got all the different things that the Greek houses and student groups participate in, as far as lip sync and pyramid and rope pull and everything that they do there, and it's pretty special. If you haven't gone to a rope pull or gone to see these kids take so much pride in their living organization as well as UT Martin,
my money's on the AGRs.
They're pretty good. Yeah. But it's just a great week. It's fun to go to the quad before the game and to see everybody come over to the football game and announce the winners. It's just one of those great collegiate traditions that everybody has, but I think UT Martin does it just extra special.
You have anything really special this year for homecoming, bringing back somebody or crowning the queens and all of these things that go along with it?
Really, the Alumni Association Student Affairs handles all of that for us, which is kind of a relief. They kind of take over that. We used to have Hall of Fame, our Athletics Hall of Fame on the same day, and it just seemed like there was too much. So we've broken out our Hall of Fame and, had it a couple of weeks ago at our first football game, home game, and it's really made that a special, specific day for those Hall of Fame inductees, which I think is really good. But homecoming is really about campus. It's about alumni. It's about the student organizations, and we kind of take a step back and let them run the show during halftime and all of that, and we just sell a lot of hot dogs, hopefully.
So we have a football game coming up,
mm-hmm.
and our opponent for homecoming is, and this is one of those things we have a very good contender, and we want to beat that team and go home happy.
Yeah, and it's Gardner-Webb, and Gardner-Webb was the team we tied for the league co-championship last year and lost to them out their place. So we've got a little, hopefully edge about us about that game, like we always do for homecoming, because you want to show out for homecoming. Our team does. They know it's a special time, and I think they will.
Have you ever had to bring your coaches, just the head coaches of all of your sports, in together, and said, "I just need to have a conversation with all of you coaches"? Yeah,
we usually have 2 all-staff meetings. So those 85 people that I talked about earlier, we have an all-staff meeting before school and usually before the second semester. But every month, every first Tuesday of the month, I meet with our head coaches. We have specific things that we talk about, whether it's recruiting calendars or just community service project that's coming up that we need some support on, and just the monthly review of where we are athletically, whether it's budgets or maybe something happened that we're going to do. So yeah, we have periodic meetings, monthly meetings with head coaches, and then all staff meetings at least twice a year.
Don't know why I'm really asking this question, but it seems to be a good one here, and that is, have you ever been into the locker room at halftime of a football, basketball game, or whatever it happens to be, and just observe, if nothing else?
Yeah, I don't. At halftime, I don't. Definitely after the games, I go into most of the locker rooms when it's okay to go into. Halftime, I've obviously been at a football where we sit outside the locker room because you're on the sideline at an away game especially, and you're sitting outside. And football is just so many different. You got so many kids, so they're broken out in their different position groups. It's not really all 100 guys are getting talked to by Jason, maybe at the end to run out on the field, but it's more every position coach is talking to them about the game. And, with the added technology this year that the NCAA approved, where we can have tablets with live game feed, live plays. We get 6 tablets on the sideline that every position coach can grab one and show them, and they do that at halftime as well. It's really gotten really tech part of the game's been that way.
How do you feel about that?
I think it's where we need to go. When we went to Kansas State, FBS has different rules than FCS. In FBS, you can have the actual the head coach or whoever calls the plays can talk to the quarterback. The defensive coordinator can talk to the captain of the defense, usually the linebacker, to call the plays. We were able to do that, but at FCS we only have the tablets. So when an offensive line comes off after a series, Coach Bannon can be down there with tablets showing them this is where we need to block and this is why it wasn't successful. I think it's part of the game. You see the pros do it all the time, and it's just the growing part of the game, no different than review of an official call or being on ESPN Plus every game.
When's the next big cost factor that you're going to deal with? And I'll use a couple of examples. Mm-hmm. A football field or a basketball court or a new baseball diamond. Where is the next? Who needs to have something fixed or maybe made over? Again,
the pool area for indoor space is huge for us to get, because right now we use the Elam Center. When Jason, rainy day, Friday before a football game, Jason has to go over and bring his kids to the Elam Center because there's not a big enough indoor space to do a walkthrough.
We're talking about Coach Jason Simpson, the football coach.
Yep. So he has to bring him somewhere. So the pool area is huge for us. Continuing to look at the football stadium, expand the turf area maybe to the north, to give them more space for practice. And then, we've taken over management of the Ag Pavilion, the Ned Raymond Quarter Ag Pavilion. Athletics has taken that over. We need to cover an outside arena. And I think that would allow us to, one, for our teams, athletically, rodeo, and equestrian, but then it would be to bring in more events. We lost some quarter horse shows, and if they had an outside arena to warm up the horses, we could bring them into the arena. So those are the things that we're probably eyeballing.
It's my understanding the arena is booked 50 weeks out of the year, and then you have the other part of it, which happens to be Santa's Village. So are you telling me that you are overseeing everything that goes on there?
Yes, we have. Dr. Freeman came to me and said, "Would you take over management of the Ag Pavilion?" The College of Ag had it for years, and athletics. We have probably the more expertise in running big events, whether it's a football game, basketball game, or other things. So we have a full-time person over there to help manage that. We've moved rodeos offices from my area over to the Ag Pavilion. So it's been pretty good, but I think we're charged with raising revenue. Again, it's going back to having those facilities that we can produce more revenue for athletics.
Well, they bring a full house usually on Friday and Saturday, and most of the time it's a good house on Thursday night when they have the rodeo. And that'll be coming up in March, April, sometime in that time period. Can you drive a tractor?
No.
You got to have you got a little work on the field.
I have some wonderful people. James Caravello, who works on our soccer, baseball, and softball fields, kind of oversees the Ag Pavilion, and then we've hired another gentleman to help him with that. But no, I don't drive the tractors.
I just wondered if
ride horses.
I just was asking. I don't know, because you got to be involved in every sport. Do you know how to play every sport? Not that you've had to play it. Do you know how to, volleyball? I mean, do you know all of these?
I had the good fortune that, before heavy travel ball, you played every sport. Now we didn't have baseball in high school, but we played baseball in other places, ran track, ran cross country, played football, basketball, played tennis, played volleyball in college, just intramurals. So, yeah, I can't say I know everything. Believe me, I hire coaches to make those decisions. Obviously, was a basketball person at Kansas State, and then at Eastern Washington. My first job out of college was a director of basketball ops. So basketball was probably my love sport, but I think I have a good understanding of most sports, except equestrian, rodeo, rifle. I probably wasn't the more ag-related sports.
They need to put you on a horse or give you a rifle and let you know what this is all about.
They're trying to. They know I'm scared to death of horses. So
and I say this sincerely, but you have to have some insight on what your coaches are doing and how we can make sure that they have the tools that they need to make sure that the University of Tennessee at Martin can be the very best when its game is on.
Absolutely, and the athletic director's charge and part of the responsibility that if a coach decides to move on or other reasons, we've got to be ready to hire the next best coach. So I think you've got to always have an understanding of every sport and who would be possibility a list of people to replace them, and I think that's part of it, and that's why you have athletic directors to manage that.
What you're worried about? Mm-hmm. What are you worried about?
Oh, I don't worry about a lot. It's been rewarding the last 7 years. I think it's one of the things you worry about is budgets, giving your kids everything you can. Are we raising enough to able to accomplish that with some of the things in the last few years, the skyrocketing of buses, transportation, of hotels and food. So those are the things you worry about.
One of the things that I know touches your heart is when a player gets hurt, an athlete gets hurt, a coach gets hurt. That becomes personal.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. The athletic training world has changed a lot, and we still got an opening now. And you're working those athletic trainers. Bart Ballou does a great job. Savannah Warner, Nelson Davis, they all do a great job. But we've got 19 sports and only 4 athletic trainers, and sometimes you worry about sending baseball down to the baseball field and no one's down there to cover them with any type of athletic training or medical. That's why I have all of our coaches take first aid and CPR. So you got to worry about those things. But yeah, when the kid gets hurt and loses a year of eligibility, or doesn't lose a year, but they got to set out a year, you cringe for them, the mental health side of things. And we have some wonderful people that keep checking on them, and our coaches do a great job of keeping them in part of the team, because that can be a very, very troubling mental time for them.
Homecoming this weekend, Gardner-Webb, big show. Everybody enjoy this week because it's going to be very, very fun. It's going to be very, very busy, but it's going to be very, very fun.
It always is. And, if the weather's great and everybody's tailgating in the quad and marching over there, it's always great to have a crowded arena or crowded stadium for homecoming.
Our guest today, Vice Chancellor of the University of Tennessee at Martin's Athletics Director, Kurt McGuffin. And it's been great having here today. We don't get to talk too much, but You've shared a lot of information with our listeners, and I know they appreciate the good job that you're doing overseeing the athletics department at the University of Tennessee at Martin. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks, Paul. Appreciate all you do.
That's our program today. Thanks for listening, everybody. This week's 30 Minutes on Thunderbolt Radio.
You've been listening to 30 Minutes, a community affairs program on Thunderbolt Radio. You can listen to this broadcast and others anytime by visiting thunderboltradio.com and following the Thunderbolt Radio and Digital YouTube page. Thanks for listening.